I'm Terrence James, and today I've got the keys for a brand new 2024 Maserati GranTurismo Trofeo. That means trophy. And the question I want to have answered today is, with Maserati taking 2 cylinders off the engine, adding 2 drive wheels up front and cramming all kinds of tech in here, is this still the elegant head-turning GT cruiser we always remember? And is it worth that huge price bump? So what I'm going to do is take this for a quick drive, tell you all about it. I'm going to pick up our co-host Chris, and we're going to take this to where it's probably most comfortable. Some nice scenic back roads on our way to Port Stanley, which is a nice beach town here in Ontario, to see if we can crank some heads around with this V6 engine and this beautiful look. So here we go. That's a good start. Oh, look at these weird looking buttons. D for drive. Here we go. So the first thing I want to do is give a shout out to Maserati of London, because they are a supporter of the show, which we really appreciate, and they're true car enthusiasts, and most importantly, I think that they really treat customers very well, and that's important to me. I used to be a salesperson, so if you check out their social media, you see some amazing testimonials, and at a place like this, you know, Maserati high-end, you know, that's really saying something. So now, what else we want to talk about is the story of the Maserati GranTurismo Trofeo trophy. Now, I remember this car from when it came out in the early 2000s, or I shouldn't say early 2000s, I think it was around model year 2008, something like that. And what I remember was it was just this beautiful car to look at, but it would turn your head by the noises that it made before you ever saw how beautiful it was. And I actually remember this time where I was dating my wife, and we were near downtown London where I am, and there's this train bridge tunnel thing that you can go under, and I just heard this epic sounding engine, and I just stopped our mid-conversation, which I'm sure she didn't appreciate, cranked my head around and made her as well to look at this beautifully stunning car. My wife is beautiful as well. But yes, this car was just absolutely gorgeous. But it was the noise of that 4.2 liter, and then later they went to a 4.7 liter cross-plane crank shaft V8 engine that they shared with Ferrari. You know, Ferrari used a flat plane crank, of course, but which sounds a lot different. But I think the Maserati made the great choice because it just had that really unique sounding engine. As you can hear there, it was just so awesome. So that was one of the things that's changed this year that we want to talk about, because they've gone to the new Nettuno MC20 performance engine, but it's a V6 this time. It's a twin turbo V6, and it's got all kinds of technology like cylinder deactivation, so you're actually going to get pretty good fuel economy with it. I think they say probably low to mid 20s when you're just cruising around town type thing, and you know, that average type driving, and you're probably going to get high 20s on the highway, which is incredible for a fun car like this, right, if you want to take some long trips. But yeah, so with that engine, they share it with the MC20. Now, the MC20 being their flagship car, it actually has that F1 pre-combustion chamber technology, which is pretty awesome on it. So this is more like the Nettuno out of like the Grecali. You know, I'm not saying that as properly either, but you know what I mean, out of that vehicle there. So it's still an amazing engine. Like on this here, in the the base blend, if there is such a thing. And I apologize if anyone's Italian, like half my friends that are watching this. Anyway, but realistically, yeah, it's an amazing engine. So what they've done, it is detuned it a little bit. So it is, you know, you're probably, I don't know, in the high 4s, I think it's 483, something like that. Don't quote me exactly on that horsepower for the base, but here in the Trofeo or the Trophy, they bump it up about 50 horsepower. You're looking at 542 horsepower and around 479 pound-feet of torque. So again, about 40 pound-feet more of torque than you're going to get on the base. So tons and tons of power in this twin turbo. You're going to do 0 to 60, they say, in around well, 3.5 seconds. Quarter mile you're going to do in around 11, you know, mid 11, something like that. So that's crazy. Like, that's really moving. What else is really interesting about that engine? Like I said, hopefully we'll see in a test that it still sounds pretty good. When you put it in Corsa mode, it does open up the valves, and it sounds really cool. But yeah, so it sounds pretty good. Now, one of the other changes that they did as well in the powertrain, they went from a 6-speed ZF transmission. So that's good automatic. These paddle shifts here, and they're nice column-mounted ones, which is really sporty. But yeah, they have changed to an 8-speed, so you're going to get a little bit better fuel economy, a little more gears for that 0 to 60 run, things like that. Yeah, and you got those 3 modes. You got the Corsa, the Comfort, and you have the Sport. So because this actually has air suspension, so you got double wishbones up front and the multi-link in the rear, so it's amazing, really exotic sports car type setup for great handling. But it actually has adaptive dampers, but air suspension as well, so you can actually get a big difference, you know, in changing character from, you know, a Comfort, which we'll test, all the way up to that Corsa, the sportiest one, where some cars, you know, they have adaptive dampers and things like that, but they don't seem to change all that much, really. So that's really interesting. And again, on the Trofeo here, you're going to get a electronic limited slip differential, powertrain wise, which, you know, probably engages a little bit better with the computer there. And you're going to get 21-inch unique wheels. Now, this one has a little bit different wheels because of the winter and the summer, or the winter tires on there. On the 75th anniversary here, you do get the orangey color around the wheels, which is pretty cool. But the 21's on the rear, and pretty wide, and 20's on the front. And again, when we're talking about, you know, what's a little bit different, so this car came out in 2008, and about 2019, it didn't change a whole bunch because it was beautiful and they didn't really need to change much on it, and it went extinct for a little bit and then came back out here for the refresh in 2024. So they've kept the main look that you can see, that beautiful athletic yet luxury look. It's just really such a head turner, just gorgeous, long and wide and flat. But what they've done is they've updated the front and the rear fascias to look a lot more like their MC20 flagship, that new corporate look, which is gorgeous and amazing. And then here, the Trofeo, you are going to get different front end than the base one, a little bit more aggressive rear end, and you got the side skirts and those different wheels as well, just a little bit nicer, you know, like how do you say, like a Maserati is nicer, right? But yeah, so the sorry, which is what I realized, I went down the wrong street, so I'm sure I threw the chase vehicle for a loop there. Anyway, so but what I want to say is, yeah, is it's really, really awesome, some of these changes, but they're not dramatic because it was already really good looking. But on the Trofeo here, yeah, you are going to get a little bit more in all those categories, and you should, because this car now we're talking is, you're looking at about $342,000 Canadian, plus fees and taxes. So that's crazy. But that's actually price adjusted. That's what I want to say, because this car, this actual one here, retail was around $380 something. So Maserati listened to their dealer base and they've lowered the price because it's a very unique vehicle. It's a strange competition because you got things like maybe like a Lexus LC500, which is like half the price basically type thing, you know what I mean? But it's that kind of nice GT cruiser that is not really in your face. It's a beautiful look. Of course, you got the 911, which is the flagship kind of for like a GT cruiser meet sports car, everyday driver type vehicle. But you know, with that car, again, it's not going to be as expensive as this, and it's probably not going to be quite as comfortable in the same ways or be as unique, right? Yeah, so competition-wise, it's, you know, kind of on its own a little bit, so it needed that special price adjustment, so I'm happy to see that. But yeah, you know, and when we talk about some of the other changes, well, when we go, you know, in the interior here, I just want to say up front, let's start with the back. So even though I say up front, out back, the trunk there, you're looking about 11 cubic feet. So again, this is a GT car. We're going to try to do some tests with it, and as you can see there, you can put a decent amount of stuff, especially since there's a pass-through. So I don't think too many people are doing hockey with this car, so that's why I didn't do my hockey stick test for our Canadian cargo test, but really you could stick a hockey stick in there quite fine, so that's quite nice. Yeah, so I don't know, you know, those back seats there, again, they are absolutely gorgeous. Those are the nicest back seats I've ever seen in any car, for probably a car that's never going to have people back there, because my BRZ is even bigger, and still not a ton of leg room for an adult. As you can see, we stuffed Chris back there. You know, I think he's around 5'10", something like that, so not a ton of room back there, but it is probably pretty good for if you got any Moose babies and things like that. We didn't bring Moose with us today, so really you're only using those seats in a pinch, or, you know, if the passengers that are going back there don't mind having their toes pinched off. But up front here is where the magic is and where most people are coming, and this is where some of the tech changes we talked about in the opening are here. So up front you've got this beautiful dash up here, electronic now, digital gauges and everything. There's, you know, you can switch some things in here. It's just really nice. Audi does a great job. They do a really great job. And of course here you've got this giant screen. I think it's 12 inches. You got widescreen. It's configurable in the sense of you can do things, you can move stuff around. You know, like we're saying with some of these vehicles, it's very much like your phone, and it should be at this price point, right? Really think that's great. And even though they've kept some of the things on the bottom here that people aren't overly fussy with nowadays, like your climate control, it is really responsive. And there's other things that you can do, like move this clock here, which is really cool, because this clock, remember, has always been analog on all the vehicles. But now what you can do, and we'll show you in the B-roll there, you can change and do different things. So, you know, with a modern looking car like this, it's pretty awesome. But the main things, you know, this car has just absolutely everything. You even got a power glove box over there. So I mean, luxury is definitely not an issue with this car. It's the performance that we really want to test, and just how comfortable it is to go on these fun cruising trips. So let's go pick up Chris.
Sounds great to me.
All right, Chris, so here we go. We got you picked up, and we are in our super expensive luxury car. But it really is, it's like what I noticed, and you haven't had a real good chance to try this out yet, is I've heard people call this like basically a very mature GR86 or BRZ or BRZ. And the reason why it is because even though this is a really long car, it's actually 20 inches longer than a 911, and it looks heavy, and it is. It's around 4,000 pounds, maybe a bit more. It actually drives more like my car. So you have the benefits of the maturity of a nice GT cruiser, right? Obviously it's so comfortable. Like, these seats are absolutely incredible, and when you change that dynamic chassis and suspension because of those air suspension, it really does, you'll notice a big difference there. I know you and me were talking off camera, but yeah, all in all, it's definitely a really nice driving car that we're going to test out here in a second. But until we get to that spot, like, what do you think about all the tech in here and stuff? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the technology in here really looks, to me, it looks quite familiar. They've clearly made, and this isn't to say that it's a bad thing by any means. They've clearly made good use of the technology that's available in the Chrysler family. And
yeah, like the buttons on the back of the steering wheel.
Yeah, like it's got things like that make it, for somebody like me who grew up around Chrysler products, it makes it easier to.
It's familiar.
Yeah, it's familiar. I mean, as far as infotainment goes, Uconnect is about as good as you can possibly get in the market, I think.
Yeah,
so they've done a really good job with that, because that's always been a struggle for Maserati and the Italians in general, trying to get on that, trying to stay with that technology and have it work. And I think they've done a good job of making it work here.
Agreed. And I always say, you know, like, so many times you hop in these luxury type vehicles and the infotainment is just, oh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And you think, I'm spending this much money, but you know, you realize
Jags or Volvos from like a decade ago.
Oh, terrible. but this here, it finally matches, you know what I mean? Like, the screens are gorgeous, they're really responsive, things like that. Okay, so we got some nice corners here. We got it in comfort. So what I want to do, I just want to turn it in Corsa here for a second, which is the sportiest. So it's going to lower down the suspension. You can put that suspension with this button on the steering wheel into sport if you want.
Yeah, there's an immediate difference.
Immediate. Okay, hold on here. Wow, that sounds good. All right, and I haven't had it in Corsa yet, so here we're going to go around this corner. Really hold, like, it does feel very, very.
Yeah. Wow.
Wait till you drive it. It feels very, very nimble. Very, very nimble. Okay, there's nobody around here, so I'm just going to do some, you know, these type of things. Yeah, like, to me it feels more like maybe a 3,500 pound car, not a 4,000, 4,200 pound type car. It's very light in its feet. Very light in its feet.
Like, it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't really feel a whole lot different. Like, I followed you down here in the BRZ, and it doesn't really feel a whole lot different than that. It feels like it's equally as nimble, which is just incredible. This car's got, what, at least 1,000 pounds on that.
All right, so here let's just do a quick launch here. Okay, so we've got it in Corsa mode. It's the most sporty. It does have a launch mode, but I'm not going to do that here. All right, so hold tight, everybody. Oh. When it kicks in, it kicks in. All right, so I'm going to do a brake test. You ready?
Yep.
Oh, mommy. Oh. It's got ABS, but I'm going to put that across there anyway. All right, now.
Oh, that was some
radius test.
Serious braking.
It really was. Okay, radius test here. Make sure there's nobody around. Okay, not the best. Not the best, but definitely not bad.
You can turn around and not get in the ditch.
Exactly. It wasn't like that Ford Focus RS where I had to do like a 17-point turn. Okay, we're going to pull over. We're going to let Chris take a try. Okay, hold on. All right, so we're back off with Chris behind the wheel here. And what do we got? Oh, I didn't take it out of Corsa, did I? Or no, I put it in Comfort.
No, it's in Corsa.
Is it Corsa?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can see right at the bottom.
Yeah, it's
okay.
in Corsa.
And you know what? See, that's how I can tell. Like it is dramatic in how everything changes, like the character of the car. Yet I've noticed that even in Corsa, it's not punishing. Because
Yeah.
I had to question you whether it was a Comfort or not. Like that, the actual suspension is quite compliant for a car like this.
Yeah, I agree. There's an immediate difference when you first change the mode, I noticed.
Yeah.
But you get used to it very quickly, and it's not like it's still. I would say in Corsa, still probably more comfortable even than the BRZ.
Oh yeah, exactly.
It reminds me actually of. It reminds me of I've previously driven a 2009 Aston Martin DBS, and it reminds me of that car.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think? Does this not feel lighter than 4,000 pounds to you?
Oh yeah, this reminds me of driving. I've also driven a GT3 RS.
That's true.
Reminds me of that.
It really does,
holds
yeah.
the road the way a GT3 RS does.
Yeah, it's really incredible, and I'm not 100% sure. I'll try to put it up on the screen and when I'm editing the video, but I'm pretty sure that when it's in course, it's like something like 30/70. So it is kind of still a little bit rear wheel drive. You really feel that rotation.
Yeah, you can feel that for sure.
Yeah.
It's got that rear end rotation.
And I forgot to mention too, when I was doing that 0 to 60 thing, like the shifts are smooth but crisp. You know what I mean? Like there's some purpose behind it, which I like as well. Yeah, no, I think it's pretty good. So what we're going to do here is we are heading back into town, and we are going to see if this thing gets some looks, and it is that head turn. Okay, that should be interesting.
You sure got looks on the way here, I'll tell you.
Yeah, well, that's because I had my head out the window. All right, we'll see you in a minute. Okay, so we dumped Chris off. Let's see if we can get some attention here. So we're just driving through town here, and like I said, this is the place to be. Right here is where everybody congregates. Beautiful day. So let's just see here, the engine's growling. Okay. All right, so here we go. So we are in town here, and this is where it's happening. Okay, let's see if we get any attention here. All right, so far so good. Got a couple of waves here. Okay, yes, there's lots of cars coming up here. This is wonderful. All right, let's see if we get some attention here. This is beautiful. This really is a nice spot here. So there's a cop in front of us too. This is interesting. So, all right, so just rev it up a little bit there. All right, yeah, it is absolutely gorgeous. Let's see here. Yeah, all kinds of people having some fun. I should be looking at my expensive vehicle. Like, what do you think here? Very, very nice. All right, let's give her one more rev here. All right. Yeah, so I think this passes. People seem to like this car, and how can you not? I mean, it's absolutely stunning between the color and the sound and everything else. Pass. So let's go to our final thoughts. All right, it's final thoughts time. We are here at GT's on the beach, so it's very fitting. We're at a GT car or a GT place, and we may or may not do an athletic test for me to prove that this is an athletic beauty. Sorry, not so. Anyway, if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and check out one of our other really expensive cool car reviews so we can get more cool cars like this one in our upcoming review. So we started off this review by saying, did Maserati make a mistake? The question we wanted to answer was, did they make a mistake by basically putting 2 drive wheels up front we didn't have, lopping off 2 cylinders and putting all kinds of tech in there? Because this was always just a nice analog GT car that sounded great and turned a lot of heads. And I think because we got pulled over by the police, I would have to say it definitely does that, and we've got lots of compliments. But what do you think? Head turner, but what did you think about how it drove and everything else? Is it that $400,000 basically car that you want to be seen in?
Yeah, no, it drove excellently. Everything about it, it definitely, I think they've definitely hit the mark when it comes to a GT car. It's still just as comfortable, still just as sporty, handles great. I think they did an excellent job.
You got a winner? Sorry about my basketball skills. Thank you, Maserati, and thank you for watching. We'll see you again next time. Okay, so here's where I show you my athleticism and ruin a perfectly beautiful vehicle and its review. So here we go. I'm gonna shoot a 3-pointer with my eyes closed because that's how good I am. And Chris, I think you played on the high school basketball team, at least as a water boy. Okay, that's a good start. Here we go, eyes closed. Sorry, Maserati. I think they still have a winner. And, you know, I won't be signing up for the Raptors anytime soon. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.